you on site now. Transport standing by.
I've written all the stories since Syphon Filter 1, so I've been doing it for 10 years now. And I felt it was time to bring in somebody new, bring in some fresh blood, bring in some fresh insight into the characters. And Greg Rucka was a perfect choice.
One of the Uber bosses was somebody who was familiar with my work, was actually a big fan of the novels and the comics. And I'd been sending copies of the books to her. And we do a comic book series as well called Queen and Country, which is pretty much realistic modern espionage. And I think that she and John Garvin had a conversation and said, hey, here's a guy who could probably come up with some good ideas for Gabe Logan's world. So
one of the things he brought to the story was he focuses on conflict between the characters. So it's always about a personal story because, you know at the end they're going to defeat the terrorists or they're going to, find the bomb and defuse it. But that's just the MacGuffin. I mean, that's just, something that drives the plot forward. And what makes the story interesting is not how they, how they get the MacGuffin back or how they destroy it. What makes the story interesting is what happens to the characters on their journey towards accomplishing that.
All right, I'll do it. But
Gabe, what are you doing? This is incredible.
I use my people.
The game starts with Gabe being sent on what seems to be a pretty typical spy mission for him. He's got this guy named Robert Cordell, who's a sort of pencil neck in Washington.
Now listen, Logan, you don't have authority
Have transport here in 1 hour. Logan out.
U.S. naval ship has been attacked by Somali pirates, which is not normal for Somali pirates. The government doesn't want anyone to know that this naval ship has been attacked.
Gabe gets there, finds out that there's already been another operative team on board, they've been killed, and things sort of begin to unravel quickly.
Incoming!
She goes on vacation to Cyprus, and nobody knows where she's at. So Cordell, of course, assumes that she's a double agent. So basically the game is sort of follows two plot threads. Gabe trying to get back this device that was stolen from this cargo hold and trying to figure out how Leon fits into it because she's involved somehow.
That's how Cordell found her. Who's she traveling with?
MI6 ran a blank. So have we. This is where he and Leon stay, according to MI6.
Blind fire normally is the completely inaccurate, you're just firing and wasting ammo. We actually didn't want to use that. We wanted to use it for specific gameplay mechanics. So blind fire in Logan Shadow is basically used to force the enemies into cover.
And while a couple other guys are still firing at me, I'll blind fire, they'll duck down, I'll run over, grab the guy that's exposed himself, grab him, and then use him as a shield and then rush the other guys, protecting myself and taking the other guys out. He's struggling, and he will break free if you're not careful. So you've only got a certain amount of time. If you don't have a good grasp on him, he will break free, and then you've all of a sudden got to deal with him again and the other guys. There's several sequences throughout the game that require these interactive button presses. The outcome of that will be purely based on, the success of those sequences being pressed.
It'll take more than that.
There's one scene in the game when you're being interrogated and you got to break out of the restraints before they get all the information from you.
Don't play dumb!
If you pass, you actually break out and take the guy out, and then no one knows that you've done this. So the rest of the mission, you're completely stealth. But if you fail, you black out and you're actually thrown in jail, and you start a completely different outfit, completely different setup, completely different area in the game.
They will be back soon, after finishing with your lady friend.
This is where she went down. Should be 200-300 feet.
Uh-huh. Good.
Assuming you don't get us killed.
A little later in the game, Gabe returns to the USS Mount St. Helens, but this time, something's different.
This is a couple days later after it sank. They go down there and then come across, there's a bunch of Spetsnaz guys down there, which is not right. He doesn't know what's going on. Dane's not equipped for combat at all.
Dang, cut the lights. What'd you sign me up for?
So the water is one of the first new features we added after Dark Mirror. The programmer did most of the code side of that, and if you notice, it ripples in real time and interacts with the player. So that's mostly code driven, but at the same time, you know, we added the reflection maps and adjust the fog settings, so when you go under the water, it really looks like you're underwater, not just a different level of the game.
So Gabe swims up and starts taking them out, either breaking their neck. You can shoot their air tanks, which explode. It's a really cool situation. Well, the difference between water weapons and out-of-water weapons is when you get underwater and you're using an out-of-water weapon, AK-47, any gun, basically, underwater, they're extremely slow, they fall off. It's really hard to hit enemies. So we have three new water weapons. We have the bolt pistol, the bolt gun, and we also have the spear guns.
The spear gun is pretty cool because when you shoot it, you actually have to track your enemy. You can't just use target lock and dead aim them. You have, because the underwater things move a little bit slower, so you have to track them a little bit and then shoot them. You'll see the spears shoot out, and then you can retrieve the spears. So that's pretty cool.
Havoc is a physics system that basically we've implemented throughout the game. Most objects in the game actually have weight. So you can run up to them, move them, you can shoot things, things go flying, bounce around.
Prior to introducing physics into the environment, it was very much static. So you'd hit a barrel, for example, they would always explode in a very similar fashion. You know, it was pre-scripted, pre-animated. Now with the introduction of physics, it'll actually react in a very realistic way.
So you never know what you're going to get. You could potentially shoot an air tank, it could hit the wall, and the pressure could knock it back towards you.
So developing on the PSP has been a blast. Sort of my philosophy is you don't need a giant screen TV to really immerse the player in the game. And with the capabilities of the PSP, the wow factor is there, whether it's through, you know, stunning visuals or gameplay that, you know, the player, he can't put the PSP down.